My name is Severo Ornstein. I'm a computer scientist, but I'm also an amateur musician, and my father's a composer. For years, I've watched him struggle with the problems of writing music down on paper. And I've known for many years that we could use computers to help, but until recently, we haven't had powerful enough machines. Over the last year, a student from MIT, John Maxwell, and I have been working on this problem, and we've produced the system which we're now about to show you. In order to make it quicker to put music in, we hooked a synthesizer up to the computer so that we can play the music directly into the machine. We also have to be able to enter music by hand, but that's slower, just like writing on paper. The sound that the synthesizer makes is not the most wonderful, and we've not focused on the issues of performance at all. We only use the sound as a means of proofreading to check the scores that we create. The emphasis is entirely on the scores. Now John will demonstrate the system for you.
Mockingbird runs on a special high-speed computer called the Dorado. This is Dorado's terminal, and this is the keyboard through which we communicate with the Dorado. This is a special pointing device called a mouse. Notice that as I move the mouse around, the cursor moves around on the screen. We've also attached a synthesizer, which Severo mentioned, through which Mockingbird can both record and play. Let's look at the piece of music currently on the screen. This is the piece of music that we played for you earlier, Bach's Little Fugue in G minor. What you see on the screen is not the entire piece, and we can bring up more of it by scrolling up. This is the second page, the third page. We can continue rapidly scrolling through the piece like this. There's another way we can obtain a view of the entire piece, and that's to jump to an overview. In this overview, we have a rough sketch of the piece, which is composed only of the beams and the stems. The composer can find his way around in this in two manners. One is by looking for the beams and stems in a rough pattern that he's recognized before, or by playing from a particular section, which I shall do. I'm listening for a long trill that I know is in here somewhere. When I find it, I can jump back to the main score at that point. There it is. And there's the long trill I was talking about. It's a half note tied to a whole note, tied to another half note. Let me play that for you. When I'm through with this piece, I can name it and store it. Later on, if I want to look at it again, I can call it back by name. Let's see how one might record music from the synthesizer. To do that, we first select an area that we'd like to record into and hit record. Severo. This is a time plot of the music that Severo just played on the synthesizer. We'd like to convert it into score. First thing we have to do is make sure that all the notes are properly lined. If we look at this note right here, we can see that it's slightly off. Now I could pick it up and manually move it over to where it should be, but I'd rather have the computer make its best guesses about where it thinks it should be. The way I do that is I select the entire score and issue the command. And the computer brings everything together within a certain tolerance. The next thing I have to do is beat in some measures to give the computer reference points on the score. The way I do that is to play back and beat in measures. Ask the computer to put the measure lines right up in front of the notes that they think it's in front of and check to make sure they're all right. I see that one of the measures here got slightly misplaced, and so I'm going to move it over. Now I'd also like to insert a measure at the beginning of the piece. The way I do that is I pick up a measure line from this menu. The way I pick up any object from the menu is by sliding the cursor over like this until the cursor's icon correctly matches the object that I want, and then release the menu like this. I can then insert the object that I want. That's the only measure I want to insert, so let me get rid of the icon. Now I'd like to insert a time signature and a key signature. To insert a time signature, I point to an area and tell it I'd like it to be in 3/4 time. See the time signature there. To indicate a key, I select the entire piece and tell it that it's in the key of G. Notice that the appropriate accidentals have appeared over to the left and that all the F sharps have disappeared from the score. Let's put the note values in for this first measure. What should the note value be for this first note that I've just selected by turning gray? You might suspect that it should be an 8th note because it's approximately an 8th note's distance from here to this note. But this note is not the next note in this note's voice. The next note in this note's voice is way over here, and the value for this note should be a dotted half, like that. We can continue with the melodic line up here. This should be an 8th note, this should be an 8th note, that should be a quarter. These all should be 16th, and all should be beamed. If I want, I can move this beam up like that and tilt it. These notes should all be quarters and chorded. Now should be on the second staff with them down. Same with these. These are on the second staff, but they're 8ths instead of quarters. I think I'll move this beam down like that.